start now. Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of I've Got Cancer. So what? More than usual, it promises to be an exciting and rewarding moment to unwind, share, and learn about cancer. But today is a really special day because we have a wonderful guest in the house, and I'll tell you a lot about him, how he supported me at the early stage of my cancer journey. Even though we did not know ourselves, we met on LinkedIn, but then he was a huge support. But like you always know, my name is Flora Gaptoni, and I come your way today as the host, and we are going to share lots of things around cancer caregiving. As you already know, this month we are dedicating it to cancer caregiving at Phlorish, and Phlorish is a not-for-profit organization geared towards enabling people to think, to take cancer from a different perspective. Oh, we need to talk about it, really. There's nothing we are hiding here. We need to support people. The well-being of people is paramount to us at Flourish Cancer Wellbeing Initiative. And at the moment, we are open to support, volunteer, sponsorship. So please come on board. All we are doing at Flourish is to enable that voice for everyone to be able to talk about cancer, and rather than having all the stigma and people not just coming out to describe. And just to demonstrate our readiness to achieve this and many more, I'm hosting Mr. Akamagwuna O. Augustine. He is a multi-talented and multifaceted professional with tentacles spread across investment banking, microfinance banking, cooperative banking, and general financial services. And then he's risen from different ranks, and then he's now the executive director on operations and regular compliance of a multinational company. And he's also presently the managing consultant and CEO of Smart Brain Corporate Services Limited, a management consulting firm that specializes in corporate trainings, management consultancy. There's lots of things I need to share with you about him, but most importantly, he is a caregiver to a wonderful wife who was diagnosed with cancer, and he is going to share with us lots of things about his journey. And I want to believe that his wife is somewhere listening to us. And I say, how are you, madam? Hope you are strong. I know you are, because we've been talking about you, even though I've not met you personally, but then I know you are strong and doing well. As the survivors, we are here healthy and here to support other cancer warriors. But before we go ahead, I need to ask everyone to please remember to subscribe with us. Follow us on all the social media platforms at Flourish Cancer Wellbeing Initiative, and get to know what we are doing. We are all out to talk about cancer in a more friendly way, and not to just see it as that witch, but then to just get all the experience about cancer. So everyone, please help me and welcome, Mr. Augustine Akamagwuna. Mr. Augustine, welcome.
Thank you, Flourish. Thank you very much for being a superwoman. Thank you for what you are doing to create more awareness for cancer patients, caregivers, and the warriors. Thank you for turning your experience to solution. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. I appreciate.
So
Just to
anyway,
kick us off, I just want to share how we started. I know that during the early days of my cancer diagnosis, when I went public online, and out of nowhere, there's this voice that says, Flora, you can do it. And you publicly stated, my wife has gone through that. And that's bravery of you. That means you are supporting the fact that we need to talk about cancer. And I remember one day that I wrote something about losing my hair, and you say Flora, and then leaning down, just like looking very lean, and us. You said no, that your wife all through her journey was still like plumpy, and like she didn't even have to lose all her hair and all that. So that gave me hope. And then even from LinkedIn, we connected on WhatsApp. You introduced me to your sister-in-law, and loads of support. I can't thank you enough for that. And God bless you. God bless you so much. And that will be the beginning of our discussion. Why were you so open to share about your wife journey and to tell me about it to motivate me?
Okay. Thank you very much, Flora. Yeah. You see, in our own case, it just happened like that all of a sudden. I must tell you the truth that before my wife was diagnosed of cancer, I didn't know much about cancer. The only thing I may I may say I know about cancer is that just word cancer. I know it's a disease, but what type of disease it is, whether it's curable or not, I mean the magnitude, nothing more. So that is it. So I felt, or part of the things I can say I learned from that actually made me to become an unsolicited advocate to many of those who wants to hear, is to create that awareness, because I learned a lot when I came to know about cancer. When my wife was diagnosed about cancer, I learned so much about cancer. And one of the things I learned is that if people knows about cancer, the less victims we have. If
Yes.
people knows about cancer, if people knows that cancer is curable, um, the less victim we have. And if it is that simple, everybody should do the best they can to let others hear. So that is actually the motivation I have. Also, bearing in mind that whichever route me and my wife took, the fact that she's today bouncing, kicking, and all, I mean, attest to the fact that yes, every of our efforts went well. And if that be the case, why will you not be comfortable to also talk to people about it? That is certainly the motivation
Thank
of
you. Go
speaking to
ahead.
you.
Okay. Thank you
Okay.
so much, sir. And that was really comforting for me at the time, because even though I went public, I had my low moments, but when I know that you are there and you are constantly check on me via WhatsApp, it gave me hope. But then let's get into the whole experience around your wife and you being a caregiver. First, let's share, how was it when you heard the news? What was it that came to your mind? What was it like when the doctor pronounced, oh, your wife had cancer? How did you feel? What was your first reaction? And what were the first things that you did at the moment when your wife was diagnosed with cancer?
Okay, let me take you around the story a bit. I don't want to
Okay.
bore your time with, but let me just take you around. I said earlier that I didn't know much about cancer until my wife was diagnosed. But between the time my wife was diagnosed of cancer and the time she came to tell me one or two things about her experience, I've also on my own gone into research, you know. Yeah, because it's just like one cool evening like that, husband and wife decide to just relax, talk about families, talk about so many things. That was exactly what we were doing sometime June 20, 2020 or so. And she now drew my attention to the fact that she has a small lump in her armpit, but she doesn't know what it is. I said, okay, maybe you need to go to the hospital tomorrow. I mobilized her. I took her down to the hospital. She did everything, but the doctor said for that one on your armpit, you need a special test. So says a mammogram or whatever they call it. So we prepared for it. So when she went for that test, I was not around. I traveled to my village. But between that time, we were discussing on this thing, go and do mammogram and all that. My mind has now begin to, supposing they say this thing is cancer and all that, I now begin to Google to know more about cancer, and I discover a lot. So when she now called me, I was in the village. She called me that she has done the mammogram, that the result is out. And the doctor said her breast will go out. That was exactly the language she used, that her breast will go out completely. Anyway, I have to be very frank with you. I was broken down initially, because she was crying on phone. And I said, don't cry. Don't even make me. So, but what I did was to also leave the village immediately. The next available flight, I came back to Abuja, and we now begin to talk about it. The first thing I did was first and foremost to ensure that I became strong for her. For the records, I'm a diabetic patient. He has been managing me. So when that thing happened, you know, I don't know, but I was so broken. Who is going to help me? Because now it looks like her own case. It was not really, really a good moment. But in the course of my research, also, I think one of the things that keep on coming out, that I needed to survive this thing is to be in a positive mind.
Mm.
I did a lot. I did a lot to reset my wife's mind. I did a lot. I did a lot, because that is actually the major problem we have. I needed to make sure that she becomes positive. I needed to make sure that she has nothing to lose if she becomes positive. You know, um, I need to do so many things to convince her to take chemotherapy, to convince her to cut off her breast, to convince her to do all these things. It was not easy, but we were focused. We were focused to ensure that at the end it becomes success story. When this thing
Thank you.
happened, the first set of people I called, my sister-in-law, my pastor. I love what my pastor told me. He said, Austin, we are going to tackle it in every aspect. I said, how do you mean, sir? He said, both spiritual, both physical, both orthodox, and all that. We will not give that cancer the opportunity to, you know. And that was exactly what we did. That was exactly what we did. Um, yeah, it was not
Thank you.
easy.
I know it's never easy, especially when you have to deal with a very, very close, like your personal person, and then all of a sudden you heard that your wife's breast will be cut off. I know, like for a man, you'll be thinking about, oh, my intimate moment, my breath, every other thing. But we'll get to the intimate part later. But let's talk about the spirituality. I love what you said about your pastor saying, oh, we are going to take it from every angle, spirituality, physical, orthodox, whatever it is, let's fight. But then it also brings me to the fact that I've had few experiences where pastors would would encourage patients and even the family to let go of the physical treatment, like medical treatment, to focus on God. In fact, there was a story we one of the our oncologists told us when I was going through my treatment, about a woman who had cancer. It was the stage 2 or 3 at the moment, and then all of us, she went to the church. The pastor says, touched her breast, and then says your breast is going to be, and for that reason she didn't go through medical treatment. And everybody will say go through medical treatment. She said no, my pastor has touched my breast. I got upset when I heard that, because as far as I'm concerned, I don't know what a pastor has to do with someone else's wife medical breast. But at the end of the day, the woman died 6 months after and leaving 4 children. There is also this one that I'm dealing with now, that like she's been diagnosed with cancer, and then even the doctor friend called me and said, Flora, I know you've gone through this and you're doing very well with it. How do we get this family to seek medical care? The woman is willing to seek medical care, but the husband was like, no, spiritual God is alive. Even the day I was speaking with the woman on the phone, the man was somewhere shouting at the wife, forget any medical this thing, let them stop talking to you about this thing, God will heal you. Tell me how you balance your spirituality and also insisting that your wife takes medical treatment to get her healed. And also advise husbands and also fathers how to, like, not, we know that God is here, but also God gave wisdom to medical doctors to be able to treat us. Share how you balance the two to be able to get cure for your wife.
Yeah, thank you, Floris. The truth of the matter is that by God's grace, I'm a deacon, an ordained deacon. Is it? But there's a problem we have in Africa. We like to make simple things very complex. You know, we like to. Do I say we abuse our belief system? But an African man, we take everything to the extreme. Unfortunately, most times negative things, because even if as a Christian that you want to exercise your faith and all that, would you have done it to put God to test? The question you should have asked yourself: um, Has Christ Himself healed people who were sick? If He has done that, then it means that sickness is part and parcel of what we will meet in this life. And sometimes I ask people. I mean, let's take for instance, we were told in the Bible that God commanded manna for the people of Israel. But there's also something He said. He said, "Go to the field." What am I trying to say? Even if we all believe that God heals, you also know that you have to play your part. You know, so for me, uh, for somebody to come under Christianity or whatever it is and discourage Western treatment or discourage the wife from seeing a specialist and all that, that is a witchcraft on its own. Because um, anyway, in my ministry, we are encouraged to see doctors and all that, and my wife also is not afraid to do that. So yeah, we know that some of these things arise from belief. We know that church itself has been very much polluted. We see so many things on social medias and all that. People are become lazy to read their Bible. So if you go out, one charlatan can tell you one thing or the other, and you begin to look for it. But one thing I'm going to tell people, at least people who call themselves Christian, there's no law of God that asks you to undermine um, a professional. There's no law that asks you to undermine a specialist and begin to pray, because the Bible itself said that prayer is like, I mean, faith without work is dead. So praying without doing what you needed to do is you are the person is getting it wrong. For me, I can tell you that yes, God did a lot in the process of my wife healing. I can tell you that I visibly saw the hand of God, you know, but that was also because we were doing what we were supposed to do, and God intervened. So that is it. I don't think it's a good idea for people to say, let us begin to pray. You know, prayer is by faith. And if you want to demonstrate it, you demonstrate it by what you are doing, by working, you know. So you don't, we didn't. They pray for my wife. We formed a prayer line. My pastor formed a prayer line. We were praying online. My wife was in the hospital. I went to the hospital the night we started that prayer. My wife told me what he encountered in the dream. I could have said, okay, let's go. God has finished everything. But she was still in the hospital until at a point, let me say, we had the permission of the doctors to leave the hospital. That is how it should be, not the other way around.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I hope our viewers are listening. And it's so profound how we need to work with God to achieve excellence, to achieve healing. It's like you wanting, I used to use this experience about in the Bible where Jesus, the disciples were hungry, and then for him to feed them, he asked them, what do you have? So that's a demonstration that God wants you to contribute something to your own healing, to your own or growth and whatever it is. And it's only when they gave him two from one small boy, two fishes and five loaves of bread, that he prayed and it multiplied. So he didn't just threw it from heaven. He asked them what they have. So you need to, there's every point in time, there's always something you are giving God in support of his healing. And let's move quickly to your own experience as a caregiver. I like you mentioned it wasn't easy, but let's talk about that thing that wasn't easy. And what was it? At what point, like we're there, let's start with low points. And were there time that you felt, oh, are we going to go through this? What was your experience like specific examples of what happened all through your journey as a husband, looking at your wife going through a cancer journey? And you remember that before now, everybody think what cancer, once you have cancer, you die. What was your experience and what was going through your mind caring for your wife during the process of her getting treatment?
Okay. Well, like I've said before, the experience was anyway. Should I say the experience was not really funny. It wasn't really um, interesting. You know, there was truly a time I I felt or I begin to ask myself certain questions, but it was not uh, a palatable experience. First and foremost, I needed to be there for her. That is one thing. I needed to be there for her. I I love my wife so much that when it comes to that point, I really needed to be there for her. And like I said, that the first thing I encounter is to make her have mental stability, to make her see things very positive, you know. But in making sure that I do all those things, I need to be there physically. So how do I manage my work with this? Our children are still young. How are we going to take care of them? How am I going to be taking them to school, coming back to go to the hospital? My very self, I am managing diabetes. So eating out is a no-no for me. But from the look of things now, that is exactly what is going to happen to me. You know, all these things, I thought so much about them. But what I did was to take one step at a time, one step at a time, you know. Uh, in all these things, also, let's not forget about the secondary layer of caregivers. In fact, they made my experience awesome. They didn't allow me to feel it so much. How do I mean? If I go to the house to do things, the elder sister will be in the hospital. From there, she will go to the office. My sister will come. At a point, um, my pastor's wife did a lot to help me at the home front to make sure that I didn't go out to go and buy food. And the school front, it was a very serious challenge. But like I said, we were focused. We didn't want anything to distract us. So even when we begin to see all these things, we remember our focus. I remember there was a day I nearly run mad. I was in the
Mm.
hospital. I needed to go home and rest because I've also seen that my sugar has risen and all that. But somebody needed to be there with her. My sister, my cousin is not comfortable for her. Her elder sister, so it is either I will be in the hospital, and so out of curiosity, out of nothing, I called one doctor and I said, "When do you think we are going to leave this place?" But because I don't just know. But finally, I think God provided somebody who slept with her that day in the hospital. So I had to go home and also take care of my health. It wasn't,
Mm.
and I also thank my company. They understood the situation very well, and they gave me the time I needed, you know, because it becomes a problem when you don't have the time. I can say that even though I was working also, I think after some time, the company asked me to take indefinite off and attend to my family. It really, really helped
Wow,
me.
wow, wow,
It's, it's,
wow. What an organization. I know I
yes,
got loads of support for myself because I am the patient. I got loads of support from my organization. But then to hearing that your company supported you as well, even gave you time off as a caregiver. That's so, God bless them. That's so, 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 so heartwarming. And I
yes,
think that's some of the things that our husbands now, or men, crave for now, to ask for maternity leave, as they also use the opportunity to take care of their wives. But I
yes,
love the fact that they were supportive, and really, really took care of you. I'm so glad.
they
And
did.
just like and I love that you mentioned the secondary layers of caregivers. Those are people that we often forget. But the
Yeah,
way they support, whether it's through prayer, whether it's through coming to stay a bit with us, and it's amazing how those support could filter and help us go through. But talking about secondary layers of caregivers and also acquaintances and friends and so many people, were there people who maybe they didn't say it, but their body language or the way they behave towards you during that time signals, oh, these people wouldn't support me, or maybe they are inferring, oh, my wife may not survive this, and they are not forthcoming. Even when you call them, they are not forthcoming to like be there for you. Or it might not be that you call them, but you know that the relationship you have with this person requires that they ask you what's happening, or even support financially, because we are going to get to the financial part. Were there people who were a bit, their spirit wasn't just positive, and even like bringing loads of energy that wasn't in line with what you believe will happen to your wife?
okay. Anyway, I would like to be very frank with you. I would like to tell you that, yeah, During the trying period, we got help. Yeah, we got help. Help we never knew would be coming. We more or less the people we don't even expect, to come to our aid, our church, and I thank God also that I have a paid job. So yeah, all those things help us financially, you know. But yeah, we have people that by my own estimation or by my own reasoning, I felt that they should have done something. They didn't do anything, and I look at it like maybe they don't know what cancer take. Oh. Maybe they don't know that this thing is so expensive like this. Oh. you know, and Africa, when they look at you and they see that you can eat 3 times a day, they feel that it doesn't need help. It doesn't need help. But I think those reasoning is very, very wrong when it comes to cancer management. You know, but we didn't take it personally against anybody. You understand? I didn't. For me, I feel that maybe they didn't know. One thing that is very, very truthful about this discussion is that 80% of the people that gave us support, whether it is financial support, whether it is moral support, whether it is physical support, are volunteers. Let me just use that language. They are volunteers. Maybe they are our church people. They just know that this is what these people need at this time. Some are in the hospital, some are at home. Um, the one that give us money. Austin, sorry, oh, I had a sister that had cancer. That thing is a devil. It sucks money. Okay, bring your account number, do this and all that. So um, there's no one. I mean, I can't remember uh, soliciting for money as such. Yes, I did to one or two people when she was taking chemotherapy and all that. But like I said, a good number of people that came to our aid, you know, and thank God also, like I said, I was working. So all the whole of my salary, even the one I've not earned, has entered there. Yeah.
I love the way you put it because if there's anything about cancer, know that it's going to, at some point it gives you like it makes you bankrupt.
Yes.
But that's like it's so the way it consumes money even after treatment, goma, lifestyle
Yes.
changes and so many things. You keep spending, you keep spending, you keep spending money.
Yes.
And I know that that's one of the problems that some cancer patients are facing. So immediately when you pronounce them that they are cancer patients, they they would even give up on their own, because where would they get money from? Where do they get money from? But thank God that you had loads of support. But then let's get to some emotional imbalance. I know you, like you mentioned, it was tough. And as a husband, usually women are, I think, more equipped to take care of the sick or take care of the husbands. But when he's on the other side, and that was so like profound for me to say you are coming on the show, because when it has to do with a man taking care of the wife, there are lots of things that um could happen, or they are thinking, can I do this? So let's talk about um experiences that created some emotional imbalance in you, like intimacy. Did you think about it? Oh, my wife is going through this. How would I cope? She's going to lose her breast. What happens to that? And then, even with thinking about your children, how am I supposed to like really get through to all these things? What if she's no longer here? I know some of these things. So let's go get deeper. I know that sometimes we don't like to talk about the whole intimacy, but let's talk about it so that people are also learning. What did you do at the point where your wife is getting treatment and there's a man who needs his wife around?
Anyway, I don't know. I was praying, I was monitoring my wife, but Floss, it's important for you to understand that I don't know how psychologists will help me in this area, but I think the word is said, "As a man thinketh, so he is a
Yes,
very credible and active word. Because what I did was to see everything from positive perspectives. Yeah, I felt like, oh, my wife is going to lose her breast, but at another point, I said, she herself and the breast, which one is more important to me? Anyway, if she's going to lose her breast, let her lose her breast. I pretended as if I don't need the breast. I said, well, after all, we had 3 children already. We have finished giving birth. But it was a very difficult reality for me to accept. But I know also that I stand a chance of seeing her life if allow her to, if I allow her breast to be cut off. At least this is at the realm of human thinking. So there are points also I felt that this woman, because we have heard so many things about cancer, particularly the time I came back from Lagos. There was a time I traveled to Lagos. That time my wife has finished taking radiotherapy. Yeah, I think that's what they call it. She has finished taking radiotherapy, about 10 sessions. Yeah. Um, I went for a sister's wedding in Lagos. So that day, it was on Sunday, I decided to come back. And I thank God that I had to come back to Abuja that day. When I look at my wife, it looks like it's no longer the wife I married. I look at her mouth, everything has turned to white. She can't even recognize me and all that. I quickly tell my children, oh yeah, get me this, get me this, get me this. I called one or two of my neighbors. I said, please, I want to take my wife to the hospital. They just helped me. We put her inside the car and I drove off. I thank God that that movement happened that day. If we hadn't take that movement that day to National Hospital, maybe we won't be talking about my wife now, you know, because every single thing in her system was destroyed by that radiotherapy and chemotherapy, you
yes,
know. So, but we got to the hospital. They put her in emergency section. We think I will spend 2 days there or so. They now sent her to another room before they take her to the proper ward that she stayed for some time. But I look at these are not ordinary moments. These are not ordinary moments. Sometimes my friends, my church members, this man, where are you getting this strength? But there's something in me that tells me that if this woman will survive, it is in your hand. If this woman will survive, it is in your hand. So I reason that if I say it was madness for me, because there was a time my sugar was so high. I needed to go to hospital to go and you know, and she's there. I couldn't do anything. That time my ear was paining me. My ear doctor at one private hospital recommended me to go to that same national hospital to go and do operation. I said, Kai, when my wife is lying down there. So it was like, let the worst happen, but when I got back to my senses, I realized that nothing is going to happen. My wife will return back to me safely. So I strengthen up, especially when I want to talk to her or see her, because if she see me in a broken mood and all that, she will not be happy. So I did everything. I did everything to stay strong, to ensure that whatever it is there that I'm seeing did not define my mood, and I think it paid off. It paid off because,
Yeah.
yeah, it paid off.
Thank you
So,
so much for sharing. I'm just like emotional here. I don't know where you got your strength to be the man, to take ownership of this. I know that I've heard stories about men abandoning their wives, abandoning their children.
yes,
Immediately they are
we,
diagnosed of cancer. I don't know where you got your strength, sir.
yeah, we saw that. Anyway, my first and foremost, before I confirm the fact that, yeah, people abandon their person, let me tell you where my strength come from, and that is the same strength I carry out today. Um, I have a Bible verse that says to me that everything works together for them that love God. You know, so for me, whether it is cancer, whether it's diabetes, whether it's anything that happens around me, including the fact that if Abuja is burning today, first and foremost, what I look out for is the positives. That is the first thing I believe. I always say that God does not make mistake. So let me look at what God wants to reveal in this situation. And once I am convinced that God is in charge of that matter, there's nothing, absolutely nothing weakens me. But let me quickly confirm the fact that yes, people abandon their loved ones. We saw some there. Um, there was a woman who was sharing the same word with me. I learned that we discovered that the husband abandoned her there and all that. At a point, other caregivers, people that comes to visit, maybe us and all that, also take up the responsibility of looking after that same woman, especially when they hear that she was abandoned there, you know. So yeah, people abandon their loved ones. Um, may God not let it. I don't want to call those people name. I don't know what I don't know what transpire. Sometimes some people are frustrated by finance. Yes, some people are frustrated by finance. Um, that is also an area I think the society will do more, because we are sharing this story today because my wife is alive. Whatever prayer I pray, whatever orthodox or alternative medicine I took, or whatever, or lifestyle change, the truth of the matter is that I had the opportunity to get money to spend to ensure that everything she needed to do, she did it. She took her chemotherapy, she took her radiotherapy, she did everything she needed to do, the tests she needed to run. These are not, there was a time she was on what we call platelet concentration, where they say her blood platelet was, I was paying 231,000 every day for that particular concentrate, what platelet concentration. I did it 5 days on a stretch. That is about 1.1 million. Her platelet did not come up. It remains going down. That was when I told the doctor that I want to take my wife. He say, ah, but you have to write that. I say, whatever you need me to write, I will write, but I want to take my wife. You know, we have all these situations. We had all these situations, but we thank God that we're able to manage it. We're able to manage it. Which one am I going to remember and forget? There was a day I wanted to fight a doctor, because we were expecting our results, a particular result, and it looks like that result is the next thing the oncologist will rely to know, and they are working, but to me, it looks like they are not working. Yeah, you understand? I became a little bit crazy, but at the end of the day, all of them they saw reasons with me that the only friend I ever had and the only mother I have living is in danger. So I think that is how they tolerated me. That they tolerated
Thank you
my
so
illness.
much for sharing. These revelations are so deep that when we think about it, even as people are hearing, I know our viewers are wondering where is this man, where did he get all his strength? But I know that when it gets to like taking care of loved ones, there is a lot that has to, like, sometimes you even think about it. How am I going to get through all this? And I'm really, really grateful. Thank you so much for sharing this. In fact, I know lots of people will listen to this and it will give encouragement to men, to see how can we keep encouraging, and also to women, because lots of men now are getting prostate cancer, and women are there to like to support their husbands to go through this journey. And one thing that is profound you've mentioned here is the fact that cancer is curable. I've seen it. I don't know about what people are saying, but mindset, which is also something that you mentioned, is very, very important. And also like resetting your mind about things that you may lose at the end of the day. Like you said, I pretended that I do not need the breast, which is very, very, very important. A woman I was speaking with, she told me that the doctor said she's going to cut her breast, but she's not willing to do that. I said, let me tell you, what do you need your breast for? She said, my husband is. I said, well, how many children do you have? She said, three children. I said, okay, and it's all about your husband. I understand where you are going to, but I think your husband will prefer that you live for him than just the dying with the breast. And so this is the reason why we keep setting up avenues that we talk to families, talk to parents about cancer, and how everybody needs to be part of this. Let's get to, as we are about to round off, I'm asking our viewers. I know lots of people are listening from YouTube, from LinkedIn, and from Facebook and other platforms. Please, if you have a question, you can share. The team will gather it together, and I'm also going to share them. If you have a question that you need to share with him, we have about 17 minutes to the call, and then we can pick one or two questions. But while people are gathering their minds around the questions to ask, I'm very curious about some of the things. Like if you mention things that you learned as a caregiver, taking care of your wife. It could be anything. It could also be lifestyle changes. I remember the earlier time you told me about fruits, food, and so many other things that I was particular about at the early stage. Do you want to share with our viewers some of the things, practical things that you learned as a caregiver taking care of a cancer patient?
Yeah, flourishing flora. I learned
Yes,
so
sir.
many things. I learned so many things taking care of my wife as a caregiver. I learned the fact that um, there's power in our fruits, in our herbs, and all that. I learned, there's something. I want to make mention. Um, sometimes, uh, don't take my word for it, but at least from experience, I can say that a number of people or a number of cancer patients die as a result of um, cancer-related treatment. The effect of cancer-related treatment, particularly the chemo and the radiotherapy. Why do I say this? Because um, I saw with my eyes what those things did to my wife.
Mm,
So, so it's not all about now trying to cure the cancer, but the fact now that we have provided a cure to the cancer, but it has there's this injection my wife usually take after taking chemotherapy. They call it figastrine. And I asked them, they said it is responsible for building up the white blood cell and all that. I remember a time my wife took chemo, and after 2 days, as usual, he didn't go to take that that figastrine. There are some changes I saw in her body. Some of the things she did not produce while taking chemotherapy. At least the only significant thing we know was that her hair, we helped her to lose her hair and get her ready before she started the chemotherapy. So, but I still also noticed some things like her nails and all that. So I now begin to ask them. I now find out that there are multivitamin and there are things she needed to take to improve her health before she will go for next chemotherapy. We always do test, a complete test to confirm if her body system has been rebuilt to accommodate another chemotherapy. But one thing I have found out, and I wonder why doctors are not courageous enough to say it, is that there are fruits and herbs around us that we can use to manage the post chemotherapy. The post chemotherapy effect, the post radiotherapy effects. There are a whole lot of things that we can use to manage it. Because when I give you an instance, when that platelet, my wife platelet was not coming up, and that was one of the questions I asked the doctor. I said, I am paying this huge money so that her platelets will come up. By the way, what is the function of platelet? He told me that it is to control the bleeding and all that, so that if your wife is bleeding, she will not bleed to death. I said, okay, no problem. Since this thing is not coming up, I want to take my wife. Before I told doctor that thing, I've also a brother whose wife survived cancer called me and introduced a place in Abuja here. They call Aliloya therapy, something like that. When I took my wife from the hospital with all the whole, I took her to that place. We saw the woman. Um, we also know that she's doing wonderfully well there. She flushed my wife, do everything. Everything she gave us that day are vegetables I have never seen in my life. They are in the market, but you may not know. Cauliflower, this and that, this and that, this and they mix them in different ways and all that. She told us the one she's going to take as smoothie. She told us the one she's going to take as her juice and all that. We came back home. We were doing it religiously. We were doing it religiously. Before I left the hospital, there's one significant thing that happened. The doctor, a very nice gentleman, called me, said, this is how he said, if you reach home too, you see this unripe pawpaw, you can try it on her. My grandmother used to tell me that that thing can help blood platelets to come up. That was exactly the way he put it. The nurses there have advised. So I was like, if these people they know these things, why, So, but to cut the long story short, we got home, we got the unripe pawpaw, did everything, put it inside the freezer. She'll be taking it, chewing it, taking also all other vegetables and leaves we brought from that place and all that. Within 1 week, 2 weeks, we went back to the hospital. The doctor was very impressed and was very impressed. Told my wife that I don't know, but whatever that brought your platelet to this level is very active, you know. So those are the things we will encourage people to do. Read far, read deep, try to ask questions. There's a woman, my neighbor here in Abuja. She comes to pray for my wife in my house. She knows that my wife had cancer. She comes to pray for her. Unfortunately, early this year, she herself, she died of cancer. We didn't know that she had cancer. Even when she comes to pray for us, she didn't find the courage to say, Oga, what is madam using for this and all that? So that we will also talk our experience. She didn't say something like that. She was hiding it and all that until the day she died, probably January this year. That was when we came to know that she had cancer. My point here is there are people who have survived cancer. My wife is one of them. Is everywhere. Ask people. Ask people. I'm not here to begin to recommend for people what exactly my wife took and all that. But one thing I can tell you is that we did not neglect any advice. The only thing we did not do is to go to a prayer house or to go to see
Yes.
any babalawo. We didn't do all those
Yes.
things. There are people that call us from Port Harcourt, try and see this prayer house. I said, okay, no problem. You know, we continue doing what we are doing, whatever we are taking, we are taking it. I discovered some great health, whatever. And yeah, it has become part of our lifestyle today. Um, yes, it
Thank
has become part
thank
of
you
the
so
family
much for
lifestyle. We
sharing.
cannot
There
eat
are
right.
lots of insights that you've really shared with our audience today, and I hope lots of people will listen to this when we post it on different platforms. And just for us to wrap up, because we have 8 minutes to go, there is this question in the chat that I want to ask you, and then I really need you to like share. Um, so we use it to round up. There are a few other questions here, but then because of time, let's stick with this one. It says, please, what is the health status of your wife now, and how is she coping with life post survival? What's her health status? And how is she coping with life post survival? Are there things that she is doing now that you want to share with everybody? I'm also learning with you.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, I can tell you freely. Last Sunday we did a Thanksgiving for her healing. So I can tell you that my wife is fine. My wife is free from cancer. You know
Amen.
that I can tell you. When she was diagnosed of cancer in 2020, um, also, I I opened a shop for her at that time. We now had to close down that shop because after the whole money we spent, she's not there. We didn't get anybody to run it. But today, she has opened up another shop, and she's going there doing her own things. What also, like I said, lifestyle change is inevitable. Uh, we have all of us, like I said, have a lifestyle change now. And that now has become, we are very, very much conscious of that. We now know what to eat and what not to eat. We now know the things, and she herself, in the course of searching for a solution to her problem, she has also discovered some great health, uh, do I call them health institution or whatever, because immediately after the chemotherapy and the rest, there's somebody they recommended for me. There's somebody they recommended for me in Lagos. So every 2 months, I paid 320 something thousand for her to send some things, and all these things also come back to supplement vegetable or whatever it is, and she'll be using that to help herself. But until one time she opened up to me that she has also discovered one health institution. I went to Google, I checked the health institution. Um, I like everything I see about them because the things I needed to get, their NAVDAC, their position, and all that, everything I got satisfied. And she began to, I tried to discourage her initially, but women, once they made up their mind, she went there and registered with the health institution, and she was taking their medicine. And I noticed that I was actually busy looking for money to send to the woman in Lagos to send me another thing, but she told me that, see, I registered with that company. I don't, and why I don't want to mention the name of the company is I don't want it to look like somebody is trying to advertise
Yeah.
or promote a company. But she started taking their medicine. So while I was struggling to get money for her to order that medicine from Lagos, she told me, say, sweetheart, na me get my body. All those things where they order from Lagos, see, I'm here and all that. Um, before I know what is happening, it has become part of her. It has become part of her. And today, she's also one of the promoters of that product because it worked for her and is working for her. Today, now, whether you are sick, you are not sick, and all that, we now take some of these things freely. We now, this every morning now, I wake up, I tell them to do mango leaf for me, let me drink. I take it now as my morning tea. There's no point to go and begin to get all those things you will take finish and you begin to look for where to woo and add more problems. So since these things are just around us and medically it has not been proven to have any negative effect, let's be taking it and all that. So yeah, that
Thank
is
you so
the side
much.
of it,
Thank you so much
opening
for
up our experience.
sharing. In fact, I think it has gotten to a point where you need to write a book with all the things that you've learned caregiving. And I'm going to disturb you on that because there are lots of people who wants to learn. And since you've gone through this journey and your wife is doing well, please be open to share more. We are going to create other avenues for you to come and share, and hopefully one day she will say, oh, I want to come and share some of my experiences. Wherever
Yes,
she is, I pray that God will bless her and keep giving her strong health.
she's
And
fine.
there are
She
lots of other questions in the chat, but our time is fast spent. And so we are going to round off now with your word of advice. And some of these questions in the chat, I could share with them. The team will put them together, I'll share with you on WhatsApp. We can just post them on our social media platform when you
no
answer them.
problem.
But just in the 1 minute we have, please can you share your last words, a piece of advice to um, families going through cancer experience with their loved ones or friends, whoever that cancer has affected in one way or the other, what would you say to them in your last words? Thank you, sir.
Anyway, in my last word, I will tell I will tell families out there, um, in any little way you can support a cancer patient. In any little way, it may not be money, your present, just do the support, because nobody knows tomorrow. If there's anything this incident has taught me, it is the fact that anything can change any moment. Anything can change any moment, because there's none, if all the whole symptoms that suggest a breast cancer, none of them my wife experienced. So it just happened like that, and we had to face the reality. So give a helping hand to the man there. And for the people who doesn't have cancer and all that, seek out for knowledge. Seek out for knowledge and look at yourself. Sometimes we have these issues at the embryo stage. Our inability to raise alarm at the proper time could also make it possible for the problem to mature internally, such that it's going to be difficult to cure. So as a people, we should not think that, oh, I don't have cancer and all that. No. Try as much as possible. Even these women, there's a age you get to go and do mammogram test. It's a normal thing, so that you know your position. You know, the same thing is applicable to even men who are prostrate. Once you get to age 40, go and do tests. You know, don't wait for you to begin to suffer one ailment or the other before you go and know your status. Knowing your status will help you start on time. You know, so that is what I would tell the public. Let's be our brother's keeper. Let's help in any way we can. Nobody knows tomorrow. I'm very sure that when you lend a helping hand, when it comes to your turn, God will send helpers to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Augustine Akamagwuna. God bless you so much for being here. And thank you to all our listeners, our guests. Please, there's a lot of information that had been shared today. It's also your responsibility as a human. Remember what he said, be your brother's keeper, to share some of the things that you've learned today to other people, to families going through this issue right now, and keep encouraging people. And that's what we do at Flourish, to keep encouraging people to speak up. We cannot let cancer win. We just have to talk about it. Seek support. He said it, seek support. If you know you are feeling anyhow or you need help, please seek help from people. There are lots of people who are there to support you, and we are here also to support you. And while we seek support from different people, we are also asking people to volunteer and be part of what we do. We are looking for supporters, we are looking for volunteers, we are also looking for people who are going to sponsor the people who we are helping. There are lots of families, lots of cancer patients looking towards us and asking us to help them financially. We can do as much as we are getting. Please support the work we do at Flourish. On all our social media platform, you will see all the information you need. And if you need to get to any one of us, please reach out. We are here to support. Thank you everyone for joining today's show on I've Got Cancer, So What? And next month, like I always promise, we are going to take it to another level, and we are talking about palliative care and death of cancer warriors. So we are not, like I said, we are not hiding anything. There could be times when we are losing our cancer warriors. What do we do? And for that, we are asking you to join us as we bring you 2 episodes on I've Got Cancer, So What? Delving into palliative care. Today's episode was In Sickness and in Health, a Spouse Journey as a Cancer Giver. And you've heard from him. Thank you also, everyone. And thank you once again, Mr. Augustine Akamagwuna. And that will be all from me. And I remain your host, Flora Gaptoni. They call me Flourishing Flora, and I love that. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And see you next month, thinking about palliative care and death of cancer warriors. Bye for now. Bye, everyone.